Good morning, everyone. It's great to be here at NACo. Ricky, thank you so much for your great introduction, and I want to thank all the folks here at NACo for putting together this conference. And frankly, I want to acknowledge the great leaders who are in attendance today from counties all around the United States of America, and thank you for the important work you do for so many people each and every day. When I spoke to this group in Charlotte last July, I talked about the need for Congress to pass a long-term surface transportation bill that would restore certainty to our nation's cities, states, counties, and our nation overall. Well, I'm pleased to say that Congress heeded this call by passing the Fixing America's Surface Transportation Act, or the FAST Act, last December. Now, while the bill is not perfect, we did get some of the things we wanted, and the FAST Act serves as a bit of a down payment on what our system needs. Our department is working hard to implement the policies and programs contained in the FAST Act, many of which reflect the priorities that we put in our Grow America Act, which we campaigned for about 2 years. Some of those matters include establishing a robust discretionary freight program, speeding up the permitting process so we can get workers on the job site faster, increasing transit funding, including $2.2 billion in formula grants and $1.5 billion in discretionary grants for buses and bus facilities, and creating a new National Surface Transportation and Innovative Finance Bureau to serve as a one-stop shop for local governments to receive federal funding, financing, or technical assistance, which builds on the work already being done by our Build America Transportation Investment Center, and also expanding design flexibility and local control by opening an option for certain local governments to use a design guide for their street network that differs from their state's adopted design guideline. And yet, despite the increases in funding and the establishment of new programs, we know there is still so much work to do to build a 21st century transportation system that your communities need and deserve. We know this because last year the department produced a draft report, Beyond Traffic, which we are now finalizing. This report examined the challenges facing American infrastructure over the next 3 decades. And one of the most critical findings of this report is that we can expect to see continued population growth in the U.S. over these next 30 years, 70 million more people competing for space on our roads and our rails and our airports. These folks are going to be using the transportation system just like we want to use it ourselves, to get to work, to school, to the grocery store, to the pharmacy, to an appointment. So we're going to need to recognize that we have enormous pressure coming down the pike. But it's not just population growth that we are dealing with, it's also the demands of our economy. We're going to see 45% more freight volume over that 30 years. Now, how that translates to our roadways, just to use one example, we're going to have 65% more trucks on the road over the next 30 years. And so those areas of your communities today that are choked up right now, if we don't do something dramatic, those choke points are just going to get worse. So we don't need to look down a decade or two the road to see this increased demand. Frankly, many of you are already seeing it today. For example, Americans on average are spending 40 hours a year stuck in traffic. As one of my friends once said, you only get so many heartbeats in life, and that's 40 hours of heartbeats you don't get back. And our Federal Highway Administration recently reported that 2015 broke the record for vehicle miles traveled. Last year, U.S. drivers racked up about 3.15 trillion miles. That's about 150 billion miles more than the year before. And just to put that number in perspective, 3.15 trillion miles is the equivalent of at least 337 round trips from the Earth to Pluto. That's how much we're riding around. At DOT, we recognize that we simply can't just build our way out of this congestion and increasing demand, although we certainly need to build some. But we also need to identify ways to make our system smarter, to make our system more well integrated, so that the assets and the facilities we have today can punch above their weight. And I'm pleased to announce this morning that one of the ways we're going to try to do that is by issuing another round of Tiger grants. We are making $500 million available today for innovative transportation projects that can be responsive to these challenges that I've just identified around this country under the 8th round of the highly successful Transportation Investment Generating Economic Recovery Competitive Grant Program. Now, this program has enabled us to make a valuable contribution to significantly improving our nation's infrastructure over the past 7 years. Since 2009, Tiger has provided nearly $4.6 billion to 381 projects in all 50 states, in the District of Columbia and Puerto Rico, including 134 projects to support rural and tribal communities. It's especially appropriate to launch this year's grant program here today because Tiger awards funding to project sponsors just like American counties, who often find themselves locked out of traditional transportation infrastructure funding models. And at the same time, like the city officials and metropolitan planning organizations also eligible for Tiger grants, our nation's county officials work more closely than state agencies with the communities and the people who are seeking better transportation on the ground. Tiger enables us to help frontline local governments respond to their citizens. So I encourage you to apply for a grant. Applications will be due on April 29th, and we look forward to once again supporting a meaningful class of Tiger projects. Now, this conversation we're having actually blends neatly into another conversation that I'm hoping to have around the country over the next several months, which is we need to dramatically rethink how we're investing our transportation dollars as a country. In the President's FY 2017 budget, he's proposing dramatic increases even above the FAST Act levels for investments, and we know we need them. But he's also proposing that we invest those dollars in cleaner forms of transportation and also pushing more of that money to local government so that you can get projects done in your communities that you need to get moving. Our department knows it's going to take some creative thinking to make our transportation systems the safest and the cleanest and the most efficient transportation network the world has ever seen. Not only to deal with the tsunami of population growth and economic demands on our system, but frankly, to harness the technology and innovation that's going to be required to ensure that we are reducing our carbon footprint across the world. 2 months ago, our department launched the Smart City Challenge, a competition to create the first of its kind city that uses data and technology and creativity to shape how people and goods move in the future. We encouraged local leaders to develop a unique vision and to develop blueprints to demonstrate to the world what a fully integrated, forward-looking transportation system looks like. And this is important because there's a lot of conversation around the world about smart cities, but precious few examples of what a smart city really is. And so we put a challenge out to America, and the response has been astounding. We've received applications from 77 cities, each with an impressive and robust proposal to help their city embrace the future. And we will be awarding later this year one of those cities up to $40 million. But we're also partnering with some of the most innovative folks in the private sector too, including Paul Allen's Vulcan Incorporated, which is contributing another $10 million to the winning application, and Mobileye, which will be offering additional funding and support. We think this challenge is going to do more than just help one city, though. It's going to push the conversation about innovation and development and transportation at the local level like never before. And while we will support through our funding of this program one of the cities, we hope that it becomes a catalyst and that folks work with us to figure out how to implement many of the goals that they've laid out in their applications. And one of the best parts of this challenge, frankly, is the way it has brought people together in different agencies and organizations across cities, including the private sector and the nonprofit community, to develop plans for how they want to transform where they live. And too often, and I know this having been a mayor, local agencies live in the same place, but they don't necessarily work together. That's actually true in Washington. Even when they're planning for the future of the same city. And that problem is only going to get worse as our cities and our regions become larger and larger and more densely and densely populated. So there are many challenges that are best addressed, in my view, at the regional level. Problems like how to really solve for congestion, how to deal with air quality concerns within a region, how to develop real resilience plans that can impact climate change in a real way. And so I've been working really hard to promote regional coordination as part of the initiatives like Smart City Challenge. So we're excited about the challenge, and we look forward to announcing the 5 finalists next month. And we're also excited about many other things the department is doing to transform transportation, like launching pilot projects in cities throughout the country to test new smart technology and infrastructure, by deploying next-gen technology to upgrade the world's largest and most complex air traffic control system. And we're also getting a lot of help from a forward-thinking president. I mentioned a few minutes ago the president's fiscal 2017 budget plan, and I want to talk about that just a little bit here. The budget proposes hundreds of billions of dollars in investments over the next decade that are aimed to reduce congestion in our transportation system. The proposal would make more resources available for crucial investments. For the period authorized by the FAST Act, for example, the budget proposes a total increase of $56 billion for highway projects and $30 billion for transit. That's over FAST Act levels. The proposal would also invest $3.9 billion over 10 years in large-scale deployment of connected and autonomous vehicle pilots. And the proposal pushes additional funding down to the local level to advance key projects and to create real accountability for how transportation dollars are used. This last point, as I said, is important to me because I know you, local leaders, understand the issues on the ground the best. And you can move faster than the federal government many times when it comes to tackling population growth and climate change and other transportation-related challenges. That's why I'm committed to ensuring that you have the support you need from our department as you continue to improve and advance your transportation systems. So we have a lot of work to do to build the system we need, but it has to be done by all of us working together, the federal government, the state government, and our counties and local communities. Now, if we're going to make bold investments and create additional resources for counties and local leaders who know the needs of their communities best, we're going to have to continue building a transportation system that meets the challenges of the 21st century. I know you're up to it. Our department is up to it. And now we have to really push hard for the resources that we continue to need in transportation, building on the FAST Act. I want to say a special word in closing to NACo. When you're fighting the battle to get a reauthorization done with all of the histrionics that Washington is so popular for, it really helps to have folks all around the country talking to their business community, talking to their members of Congress, and raising up issues that are happening back home that are impacted by indecision here in Washington. And I want to tell you that I really don't think we would have had a bill passed last year had it not been for the vigorous advocacy of your members. So thank you very much, and I appreciate your great work, and we look forward to working with you over this year. Thank you.